want to do a little rant. It's been quite a long time since I've done a rant, and this isn't really a rant like the others. This rant is against nosy neighbours. I want to tell you something that happened to me this week that's left me quite uncomfortable in a lot of ways. I will get over it, of course, but I thought I'd just explain it to you. The following sort of conversation, I'm not quite sure, I can't quite remember how much of what I am going to tell you was actually said, and how much is sort of my reflections on it from afterwards, and what I would say if I got the chance again. So I was walking on my way home, minding my own business from the gym last Tuesday, and a black car pulled up, and a woman got out, and she came across the road and said, "Excuse me, can I have a word?" And if you work in retail, you get to know what customers are going to be difficult before they open their mouths, because of the way they speak, and I knew she had a problem. So anyway, she said, "Yes, I live across the road from you," she said, "and I've got 3 teenage daughters." And the way she said it was like she wanted to get them married off or something. So I was like, "Oh, well, that's fantastic, I had no idea." And she said, "Yes, and they are, we're very concerned about your behaviour." And I thought, oh, here we go. So I said, "Well, what seems to be the problem?" And they said, the first thing is that we've noticed that you basically run around your house with no clothes on. And I thought, well, that is complete news to me. I have to say it's been very hot, and occasionally I take my shirt off. It can't be a very delicious sight yet, I haven't lost that much weight. But it is in fact not a breach of any laws. In fact, for males to go running around with no tops on, certainly, outside of their homes, let alone inside their home on the 2nd floor. So I explained that to her, and she said, "Yes, well, we can't help noticing that you're always sat next to the window." Well, firstly, I get depressed, and some of it has to do with whether I get enough light or not. It's called SAD, Seasonally Affective Depression, and I get it, so I spend as much time near the windows where I can get light as possible. Secondly, as it's been very hot, I keep my window open because that's where the draft is. Thirdly, I have no control over where the power points are in the room, and I have the computer at one side of the window, the television at the other, and underneath the window on a little stool I have Jim's the Budgie, so I'm always around the window. That won't change, and I don't really apologise for it. So finally she threw the bombshell, which I'd been expecting by this point, and she said, "Yes, well, we can't help noticing that you have recently bought a camera stand, and it's always pointed in our direction." Firstly, to notice that you'd have to actually be watching me, because the camera stand is quite far back in the room. It only ever has the camera on it when I'm actually recording, and every photographer knows you don't record in front of a window where the light shines from behind you, because then you just end up being a silhouette. In fact, you either sit opposite a window, so the light, or next to the window, or sort of adjacent to the window, so that the light bounces from the window to you and then over to the camera. So she's just completely wrong about that. But basically what she was trying to say was that I had probably, was some sort of ugly pervert who was watching her daughters and now filming them from across the street. And I said, if they'd been a little bit more observant, perhaps they would have realised that I'm a homosexual. Not only that, I'm actually out. I've been out for quite a long time. I don't practice, but my feelings are certainly that you are very, very unlikely to get me looking at women, let alone filming women, across the street in that sort of manner. Now, maybe if she had sons, but I don't think she does. I don't know, because I'm oblivious. When I'm typing away, I'm just completely oblivious. I don't even hear my music or the television on in the background sometimes, let alone, who's watching me from across the other side of the road. So it was a bit disconcerting that. I said, if there had been problems, you might have thought of dropping me a note, which she didn't do. Of course, that would be written evidence that she was accusing me of something. I said, you know, you could have phoned my landlord because there is a plaque with his sort of number outside the residence, which she hasn't done to the best of my knowledge, thank God. The other thing is, of course, if you were really concerned about your daughters, perhaps you would have phoned the police, and perhaps you wouldn't have waited 4 years, which is how long I've been there, sat by the window doing exactly the same thing. And I know nobody has moved into that house in the last 4 years, not since I've arrived. Certainly, I'd have noticed that. So my thought is, of course, that they have the women have probably been living under the assumption that I've been watching them, and they had no problems with that until they saw the camera, which, of course, well, the camera came last year, but the year before last. But last year, for my birthday, most recently, I was given a camera stand, and that might have made it stand out a bit. So I said, you know, so if you have a problem, you should call the police. They can come round. I'll show them what's on my computer and my camera. And I said, and when they not only find nothing to do with your daughters, but actually find sort of stuff that might sort of say that, hello, this guy is definitely not going to be some sort of pervert, that I can take her to court and get a substantial amount of money in compensation. At that point, we sort of parted company, and I haven't heard anything from her since. I think I'd be more upset if it was younger children that she was accusing me of sort of watching or whatever. But it's still a little bit unnerving, and now, of course, I am aware of them. Now, yes, I am sort of looking occasionally to make sure that I'm not being watched. So, you know, I will have to actually do something if I come into contact with this woman again, but hopefully that won't happen. So I just thought I'd say that. Get it off my chest.